Libbie, welcome to Coffee with Bee.
Thank you so much, Bee. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, women's rugby, not rugby though.
Mm.
Rugby is like a big icon thing in South Africa, but women's rugby is relatively still in its developmental phases. So, what was your journey like to be able to get to this place where you're now representing the country?
Look, I think, as you mentioned, rugby is still growing. We're not yet where we want to be. When I started playing rugby, I didn't know that there was a national team. I didn't know any of that stuff. And I think there's a lot of people today that still don't know that. Even though looking back, there's a big contrast between where we are now and where we were when I started playing rugby. But I think just the journey as a whole, I've had to be very patient with myself. I've had to be patient with the system. And I think my time was the perfect time. I think if I had started, let's say in the perfect world, receiving a professional contract at the age of 19, just out of school, I probably wouldn't have studied as long as I studied. I probably, wouldn't have become the person that I am today just because I really had to work hard. And I think the hard work that I've had to put in is what has sculpted me into the person that I am today. A lot of coaches and teammates, would describe me as a leader. And I think that leadership qualities and the calmness that I bring to the game now is due to the fact that I've had to work so hard and I've learned a lot over the years. Because I think a younger Libbie was just going at 110 miles per hour, not really thinking too much about things, just doing what I wanted to do. So I think it was definitely, patience was key for me. But like I said, I think everything happened at the perfect time for me.
Yeah. In terms of structures though, where did you start? You just mentioned playing touch rugby. So how did you go from touch rugby to actually playing flower for the 15s and 17s?
So when I started studying at Tuks, I was training touch rugby on the rugby fields, and the 7th coach, Rian, approached me and he was like, listen, you can pass a rugby ball and you look athletic. We're going to France in 2 weeks. Do you want to come with? I was like, I don't know, never tackled someone before, but I think I have the personality to do it. Went home, spoke to my family about it. Everyone was very hesitant. It was 7s, but everyone was still like, oh no, it's rugby. Never mind the fact that it's 7s, it's rugby. No, they're not sure about it. I thought, well, when am I ever going to get the opportunity again to go to France? All expenses paid. Never have been able to go to Paris just by myself. So I thought, okay, let's do this and see where it goes. I went there and we played in the Central 7s. First game against France development team. I think I probably played like a minute and a half and it was awful. And I came back and I was like, no, this is too rough. It's too rough for me. And then 4 or 5 months went by. Coach Rian phones me again. He's like, listen, we're preparing for Dubai 7s. Don't you want to try again? And I was like, I've never been to Dubai. And Dubai 7s is like a massive
traveling.
So, okay, let's try again. I trained a little bit better, prepared myself a little bit better. And then after Dubai 7s, it stuck. That's where I then, invested everything into the 7s. I got a bursary at Tukkies to study while I finished all of my degrees. And only after COVID did I consider 15s, or actually look at 15s. Yeah. I never was interested in playing 15s. I remember when we still had interprovincial tournaments for the 7s, we used to play Nelspruit a lot. And there was a time there when the Springbok coach approached me and he asked me, why don't I want to play 15s? And I just told him I just don't want to. The 7s is already quite a lot for me. I can't imagine having to tackle an 8th man, which now I love. Like now I've made peace with it and I look forward to tackling a girl that's, running at me and that's bigger than me and stuff. But back then I wasn't interested in it and I didn't think that I would ever do it. And then when COVID hit, I sort of started getting at a place in my life where I'd been playing for Tuks for many years. I think it was 8 or 9 years. Never really got a break with the Springboks. And I thought, okay, well, I'm working at Tuks Rugby now. I'm happy where I am in my career and I can see a way for me to grow still within rugby. But maybe it's time for me to just take a step back as a player and focus more on what I can do for women's rugby off of the field. And it was then that the Bulls coach phoned me and he told me, listen, the World Cup has been postponed due for COVID. He thinks I have a really good shot at it. Don't I want to give it a try? Come to the Bulls and play. So played IPL season, and I think it was probably 3 months that I played 15s, and then I got a call up for the Springboks and got my first cap. And from there, I think the rest is history. I think as soon as I got my first cap, everything just snowballed on that, and doors started opening with the rugby, sponsorship started coming in. Sevens then came knocking on the door. So I think it's been a long journey, but I'm very happy to be where I am now and to be able to give back to rugby on and off the field.
Yeah. So I am interested in this part though. When you say you didn't want to tackle and you were a bit scared of all of that, how do you go, or how did you go from that point to, I think, which competition was that in Cape Town?
WXV.
Yeah, I mean, I've watched that video over and over again. It's just like, watch this Libbie tackle. My husband's on a group with Paul Roos guys, and they put it on the group. All the guys can say, watch this girl tackle, and it's been going viral. And how did you get to that point? Mentally also, physically.
I think I'm a very competitive person, and my brain has always been wired in a way of, I need to be the best, and I will do whatever it takes for me to be the best. And when I get to a point where I think, okay, let's say within a team, you're the best, then you have to look further than the team, then you have to look in your province, then you have to look in your country, and then you have to start looking in the world. So I'm always trying to push myself and comparing myself to people who are better than me, because I don't think you are ever actually the best at something. Like, there's always opportunity to learn. And I think when I started, a big problem for me, people aren't tackling, or they don't want to tackle, or because we are girls, we're scared. It's only natural to be scared of these things, but it was a little bit of a pet peeve for me. And also this thing that people say, number 10s don't like to tackle. And look, a number 10 is a very difficult position, because that's where the 8th man picks up and runs at. So that's a very big person that's scrumming, is running now at one of the smaller backline players. So it is a difficult position to be in. And I have been run over so many times by 8th man. And I just think, one day I just woke up and I thought,
genoeg is genoeg.
Today, genoeg is genoeg. I'm done with this. Those people must rather look to pass or think second before they run into my channel, because it's not nice being run over. And I think maybe it's an ego thing, maybe it's for the better good of the team or whatever, but I think one day I just woke up and had this mind shift of, you know what, today is the last day that anyone's going to think this is the easy route. They'll rather look somewhere else to come through. So yeah, I think it's just a mental mind shift.
I think the team is very happy that you made that mental mind shift. Libbie, you know that, sport has a way where you are today a hero, tomorrow zero, as they say, and you can from any time go from hero to zero, or zero to hero. What would be some of those hero moments for you if you look back at just your career?
I think a moment that definitely stands out to me was in the last World Cup when I kicked the penalty against Fiji. I mean, that in a perfect world would have been the biggest hero moment, I think, of my career. And unfortunately, we lost them. After that, I mean, I kicked the penalty. We were ahead. There was a couple of seconds to go. We just had to receive the ball and kick it out, and they went on to score. So I think that's definitely a moment that'll always, it's a bittersweet moment. It was also the first time that I had to kick such a high pressure, high intense moment as a fly off. Obviously now I've had a couple more, so I'm a little bit more comfortable, taking those kicks and stuff. And another moment is definitely last year when we played the Challenger Series in Cape Town. We were playing, I think it was a semi-final or something against China. And we made the kickoff, and one of the Chinese girls came around our line and beat all of our goals, and I was the last line of defense, and I knew if I wasn't going to catch this goal, we were going to lose the game. And I don't know, I think I hit my high speed in that game ever, and I somehow managed to just when I dove for it, I just grabbed her jersey and managed to get her out of the field. So that's definitely like a hero moment in my mind for on the field. But like you say, like these moments can be, you can be humbled so quickly. And I think a lot of people don't necessarily see it, but as an athlete, or me personally, I'm very hard on myself. So let's say you have that moment in one game, and then the next moment, or the next game, I make a bad pass or make a bad kick, then that will be what sticks You know, you always remember the times you weren't on point or the times you made mistakes and stuff. But I think, again, it's just good to surround yourself with people who can pick you up. I think a game for me was last year, we played Samoa in a warm-up game in Hermanus, and we drew that game. And I had a very, very bad kicking game. I think our game in general just wasn't good. And as a 10, you know, everything, there's a lot of pressure on the 10 to drive the ship to where it needs to go. Of course, the weather and all of that stuff also affected the team. But for me, I walked off of that field and I just thought, yeah, you know, I let my team down so bad today. And I didn't kick the conversions that I had to kick. I didn't do, you know, steer the team right. And then again, having a support system within our ownership group in the team, with BB coming to me and saying, you know what, don't worry, it's not just you. We also, you know, made errors, and having a team that can understand and see the bigger picture and lift you up when you need to be lifted up is definitely very beneficial as well, especially, like I say, for a fly off.
Yeah. How do you deal with pressure in those situations?
Look, I think it's definitely something that I've learned. You have to learn how to deal with pressure, and you have to be in high pressure situations to learn. You can't just train yourself for these situations, but never be in the situation. So I think just leading up to tournaments, especially just the way you prepare on the field as well. A simple example is saying, if I have 10 minutes after training to kick a couple of balls, I'll say, okay, I only get 3 kicks. Just 3 kicks. If they bad kicks, then that's what I'm going to walk away with. And that's, I mean, it's not a World Cup kind of pressure, but it's those little things that sort of teaches you to calm your brain, and it piles up eventually in the long run.
Thank you so much for your time and just for sharing a little bit more about you and this journey of being a women's rugby player. We really appreciate it. And I know there's going to be people that's going to really be encouraged and inspired. And just having that, I think work ethic is what I heard very strongly. Being able to have a really good work ethic and working hard towards what you set out and to show it's possible.
Yeah.
And then also a good support system.
Yes, very, very important.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you.